It is so great to be a part of a church that supports the work of God in our community, across our state, and around the world through partnering with different ministries as they serve in all sorts of different ways. October is Missions Emphasis Month. We kicked it off last Sunday with having some interviews with some of our ministry partners. I talked about what it means to be a part of the mission of the church, that we need to go. And that word in the Great Commission, when Jesus says, "Go therefore into all the world and make disciples of all nations," that word "go" really means since you're going anyways. I mean, we all are going. So as you're going about your life, or maybe as you choose to go and you're going like across a border, go. We can give as we support missions with our finances, with our energy, with our prayers, and then get after it. Man, make a choice. Figure out what God wants you to do and then step into it. A couple of weeks ago, our missions pastor, Jerry Mapes, and his wife Esther and daughter, or wife Bonnie and daughter Esther, had a great opportunity to go visit some of our missions partners in Oaxaca, Mexico, down towards the bottom of Mexico. So I asked Jerry to share just a couple of thoughts with us. Jerry, thanks for joining us. It's so good to have you today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're part of a musing. So I don't know if you've ever been a part of a musing, but here you go. So you just had a big trip to Oaxaca, which is like the southern part of Mexico, like almost to Guatemala, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about your trip. Like who did you go visit, and who went with you, and what's the big takeaway? You know, the big memorable thing that really stood out to you as you traveled.
Well, let me start off by saying God's timing is always perfect. And this trip was actually planned for about a year and a half ago, and it had to get canceled because of COVID. But so much has happened with Foundation for His ministry in the last year and a half. What we originally were going to go see, we didn't actually go see because there were so many positive changes that have taken place within Foundation for His ministry.
Wow.
So we were invited to go down with the director of Foundation, Janelle Keller, who, by the way, is going to be at our church in a few weeks. But we went down, my wife and daughter and I, and we went to Oaxaca, Mexico. We went by way of a place that everybody is somewhat familiar with, and that's Tijuana, where there is a new ministry there. We are familiar with Foundation for His ministry because of the orphanages that they operate. But what was so exciting about this trip was not only did we get to see the orphanage, but I got to meet some missionaries that work in the mountains of Mexico. And I knew they were there, but I had never met them. I didn't really know what they were doing. And we got to spend one day with about 6 of the missionary couples and individuals, some single ladies that came in to meet with us, and we got to spend the day with them. And John, I was so impressed and humbled by them. What they do and how they do it. I had no idea that Mexican missionaries, I mean, these are indigenous people in the most part from Oaxaca, that are so persecuted for their faith, but yet they continue to go day after day into these mountains, hiking in long hikes and sharing the love of Christ. That single thing was the most impressive thing to me. But we also got to see God answer some prayers while we were there. One of the 2 ladies that is a young lady who has been working with missions from Foundation for some time. Her and her mother were a team, and she lost her mother about 2 weeks ago. She just passed away.
Oh.
And again, God's timing was perfect. All that I have learned this last year through Grief Share, I was able to share with her, and my experience with my own brother, and serving along a partner, a brother in ministry, and then not having them anymore. There was a big void. So I was really able to speak into her life, which I wasn't expecting to do, but I was able to. And that was a real blessing for me. Secondly, the other real answer to prayer is the Tijuana House, which is a brand new ministry that has really been an answer to prayer over the last year and a half. The building was ready, the house was ready, the staff was ready, but nobody living there. So while we were there, we got to pray with the director of the Tijuana House, Brooke, and we got home on Tuesday, and the following Sunday, not only did they get 5 girls, which they were asking for, they got 10 girls.
Oh, no way.
And so the house is completely occupied now. They've got full coverage from the government as far as operating. And I mean, that's a real blessing. We got home and I was able to text Brooke and say, man, when God answers prayer, he really answers prayer. So we had a great time. And I was so grateful for the church that allows me to go and encourage our missionaries.
Yeah. And we love to think about the mission of the church. I'm passionate about it. I love to think about the mission of the church. The theme for the missions emphasis this year being unleashed, that we felt kind of bound up and your trip got canceled or postponed for a year and a half. But man, now you look and see what God has done, even more than we were anticipating, because the mission is unleashed and we get to be a part of it as we go, as we give, and as we just get after it, because it's time for us. It's time for us to move, and it's time for us to be a part of what God's doing around the world. So Jerry, thanks for sharing. Thanks for being a part of the Midweek Musings. And we just look forward to hearing the rest of the stories from missionaries, because we have some each week, right?
We sure do. Yeah. So it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So Jerry, thanks a ton.
You're certainly welcome. Thank you.
So again, watch for these great interviews throughout the month with our ministry partners. You don't want to miss it, whether you're at church in person or you connect online. Pay attention, because God is doing some really, really great things through the work of Reading Christian Fellowship and through the work of the people that we're able to partner with.